Welcome back to Learn SKN, and today we have another MOB video for you. We have the May-June 2014 Paper 1 for Unit 1 for CAPE MOB, Management of Business. Alright, so before we jump into it, you know what to do. You subscribe to the channel, like the video, of course, like the video, share the video, do what you want with the video, and you hit the bell so you know when Learn SKN drops, maybe next May, June 2015, 16, 17, who knows. MOB paper. Alright, but you have to drop like the channel, hit the bell to know if we drop another video. Good. So let's just jump into this one right here with number 1 naturally. Alright, number 1. In which of the following stages of production would the bottling of water be classified? And so the best answer here is C, secondary, because you know that the different stages of production, the primary, secondary, tertiary, at primary level is what you call the extractive level. The extractive level of production or stage of production, where you take from the crust of the earth, whether it is farming, mining, whatever. So that's the primary. Then the tertiary is about services. So we're dealing with intangible services, financial services, restaurant services, services in general. And at the secondary level is where we're dealing with construction or manufacturing, processing. And so this is where the bottling of water comes in, because it's an extra level of processing right there. I mean, if you just extract the water and call it a day, okay, that's extractive. But you process it, whatever you do, you might have, purified it, filtered it, whatever. But you're bottling it, that's an extra process. And so we have the secondary stage of production. Number 2. Which of the following is least likely to contribute to economies of scale? Least likely to contribute to economies of scale. So they're saying here that all of them contribute somewhat to economies of scale, but which one is the least likely? So we have A, finance, B, marketing, C, technology, and D, competition. And so we're going with D, competition, because you realize that most of the other the other options there, finance, marketing, technology, they can actually help a business grow and help a business even reduce costs or gain certain advantages from their growth. For example, technology. If you have improved technology, then the business can actually produce more, higher output, more efficient, and so that can lead to economies of scale. Marketing. If you're able to market properly, maybe you may become viral, everybody know more about you, you increase your market share, you grow, you start growing as a business, and so you're going to obtain that economies of scale. Finance, same way. You get more finance, you get more monies, you're able now to expand, into different areas, build out more plants, things like that, that would enable you to grow and income and achieve economies of scale. But competition now, it doesn't really, it can force you to do certain things. It can force you to be more competitive in terms of pricing, more efficient, that kind of thing. But for the most part, competition don't really lead to economies of scale in that way. Number 3, the term technological obsolescence refers to technology being, and of course, outdated. We're looking at obsolete technology, and so we're saying that if you're looking at obsolescence, then we're looking at something that's obsolete, and so it is outdated. More than inefficient, expensive, or inappropriate, is more outdated. Number 4, trade liberalization may be best described as A, free movement of capital, B, removal of trading barriers, C, unrestricted movement of goods, and D, independence of trading partners. And so the best answer here for trade liberalization, if you have been liberated, that means you have been freed. And so when we're talking about trade now, we're talking about the removal of trading barriers, removal of restrictions, of tariffs, and those things to open up trade, to make trade a little bit more free, a little bit more liberal. So trade liberalization, we're talking about freeing up trade, and so that's the removal of whatever barriers are in place. Number 5, one feature of a public limited company is that, of course, A, the shares are traded on the stock exchange. That's one advantage that the public limited company has over many other forms of businesses, the sole trader, the partnership, and even the private limited company. With the public, you can actually trade stocks on the public stock exchange. They said B, all transactions are made to public citizens. That is true, right? But not to a certain degree. Of course, they're gonna have their AGM and they discuss everything that happened in the business, but they just give you the rundown, the skinny of it. They're gonna give you every single thing. They say all transactions are kept private from citizens, and again, it's more public because it's public limited company and public citizens own shares. D, the owners of the factors of production keep the information for themselves. We know that's not true. That's more along the line of the private limited company or the partnership or whatever, sole trader. Number 6, which of the following is not a decision making tool? And so you have the decision tree, market research, cost benefit analysis, and the critical path analysis. And so we had a similar question in 2013, and so we have it here, but the options are different in a sense. So decision making tree, of course, that's as its name suggests, it's a tree that allows you to show the different path that certain decisions are going to be made, are going to have if you make them, and so of course that can be used to make decisions. Then you have cost benefit analysis. Once you carry the cost benefit analysis, then you're able to weigh the cost versus the benefit of a certain decision, and so that can be used to inform decision. Then we have the critical path analysis, again the CPA, that can be used to make certain decisions because that tells you how certain things should be done, the time frame which certain things can be done, and so you know how to approach certain decisions. But the market research now market research is used to collect data, and that data is what is pumped into these various tools to make the decision, because the data by itself is not going to make the decision. You have to put it in the tools such as the decision tree, the cost benefit analysis, or the CPA. You have to pump that into that tool to end up making your decisions. So the market research just provides the data that can be used to put into the tools. It's not a tool by itself, but it's a part of it's like the bullet for the gun, right? It's a tool that is the data is used as the ammunition to make the various decisions. So that is why the answer is B. It's not a tool, it's a part of what the tools rely on, so that it can be used to make decisions. Number 7, which of the following organizational structure is most likely to be adopted by a multinational corporation? Multinational meaning that you would have your headquarters one place, one country, and branches elsewhere. And so from a simple fact that they said elsewhere or multinational, you can say that the best answer here is geographical, because that's how most of them are. You have Walmart all across America, different geographical locations. You have Starbucks all over the world, different geographical locations. You have, think about any franchise. We're not a franchise. Let's not go franchise. Sorry, they're not the same. Multinationals. So yes, so you have multinationals. So a lot of them are located in different countries. You have Best Buy. You have Best Buy in Canada, Best Buy in Puerto Rico, Best Buy all around America. So geographical location is the best way, is the best answer for this one. Most of the matrix and functional and product base are normally reserved for businesses that have they're just one main entity, right? So a private company, public company, those kind of things. Number 8, which of the following is not likely to be considered a corporate objective? But is not likely to be considered a corporate objective. And so we have your strategic objectives, your tactical objectives, you have your corporate level objectives. These are dealt with at the higher end, the top of the company. So you have corporate responsibility. Of course, that would be set by the higher ups. What exactly is the company's responsibility to the government, to society as a whole? Survival growth. Both are very important decisions that are going to be made by the corporate level. If they are going to cut a department, or they are going to drop a product line, if they are going to have a merger or acquisition, that's dealt with at the very top. But profit distribution now, that's not really a main objective for at the corporate level. It's normally things like profit maximization. They want to find ways to maximize the profit, and that's normally at the top, and then it's carried out by the middle and the lower end. But profit distribution, that's hardly the first thing on their mind. The first thing is to make the profit first, and then somebody else, you figure out how it is distributed based on your shares, etc., etc. Alright, 9. A firm practices ethical behavior when it, and so the best answer here is recall a specific batch of products because of flaws in a few. I mean, they could roll the dice and say, well, only a few, so we just leave it out there and what happens. But because they know there's a few that's damaged, they're going to say, okay, the right thing, the ethical thing to do, let's recall the whole batch. Right? Let's recall the whole batch. It's going to cost us some money, but that's okay. We recall the whole batch because it's the right thing to do, it's the ethical thing to do. So that's why the answer is A for this one. If you look at B, place more emphasis on social responsibility over profit, that's not really a firm practicing ethical behavior, because firms have their fiduciary responsibility, meaning their shareholders should come first. Whatever is best for their shareholders should come first. So placing emphasis on social responsibility over profits, that's a no-no, because as a board member, and if you're on that board, you're going to be fired. That's not part of the overall philosophy. Profits come first. Profit maximizing. We're in the business for profit, not charity. Then you have delay paying its suppliers in order to improve its liquidity position. Again, that's not really an ethical thing. That's a business move. So, you know, if you want concerned about your cash flow, you might delay paying the supplier based on whatever arrangement you might have. So that's a business move right there. Not really ethical based on what the arrangement. If you do it underhandedly, that's unethical, sure, for sure. But I would imagine that you and the supplier would have a relationship and you'll be able to discuss these things. Pay large salaries to executives during a redundancy exercise. Yeah, no, that one is a tricky one. That's a moral kind of thing there. I mean, that's not ethical behavior at all. That's terrible. Because imagine you're laying off people and you're paying your higher ups big money. That sounds like a company that Activision. I don't know if you all play games, but Activision would lay off their workers and then pay their CEO exorbitant amount of monies. That is why you shouldn't really support Activision and Call of Duty and those things. Those are, you know. Anyway, so the answer is A. Recall a specific batch of products because of flaws in a few. Number 10. Singh's engineering company and Ram's architectural firm have decided to work together on a government project to construct a bridge. This type of arrangement can be referred to as, and the best answer here, of course, is a joint venture. A joint venture, two companies coming together to do a project, run a program or something like that. As I said, joint, together, and venture. So joint venture for that one. All right, good. Number 11. Which of the following is a feature of cost push inflation? As a cost push inflation is any factor that carries up the cost of production, which in turn means that the producers have to pass that on to the price, pass that on to the consumer by raising the price. And we know inflation is a general rise in the price levels in the economy. And so they say, which of the following is a feature of cost push inflation? And the best answer is A, high levels of wages. Why is it A? Because wages are a part of production. That's a cost of production. And so if your wages go up, right, that means your cost of production goes up, and then as a company, you're forced now to pass the increase on to the customers via the price. So your price go up, and if the price going up, that's inflation right there in a nutshell. So that's why the answer is, of course, high level of wages, because that's one of the only things here that actually affects the cost of, that increases the cost of production. If you look good, lower the cost of production, no, that would not lead to inflation. That might cut the price. If they want to, or maintain the price. Not going to increase the price if they're not greedy. Increase money supply. Now that would lead to inflation, but that would be on the demand side of things. Because what we're saying is that if you have an increased money supply, everybody got money in their hand now, and so demand would increase because you love demand. You have increased income, your demand tend to increase, and so that would lead to inflation from the demand side, right? Not really the cost side, the demand side. Then you have increased demand for goods and services, again, demand side inflation. Then you have number 12. Which of the following best explains the cost of unemployment to a country? Unemployment meaning that persons who are willing and able to work cannot really find a job, and so they're out of an income stream. And so the best answer here is D, reduced demand for goods and services. And that goes without saying. If you don't have an income, you're not working, then as the law of supply and demand states again, if your income falls, your demand tends to fall. And so if you don't have a job, of course the income is going to fall, and so that would reduce your demand for goods and services in the country. Which of the following outcomes is an advantage of trade liberalization? And so we look at the definition of trade liberalization above, and so we're looking at now what are one of the outcomes or advantages of trade liberalization. And if we go to the list of options, we see A, infant industries become more competitive. Now that can't, on paper, that is supposed to happen. That's what they're saying. Everybody got a fair shot on paper. But if you're an infant industry just starting out, imagine there's nothing to protect you. You're exposed to all the players in the market because there are no restrictions, no barriers to trade. You're exposed to all of those who have been in this thing for a long time, people who are actually experiencing economies of scale. You're not going to survive. Chances are you're not going to survive, and so that's not an advantage. B, a level playing field it provides for all countries. On paper again, that's true, but we all know some countries produce better than others, are able to produce at costs lower than others, and so it's not an even playing field. Look at the Caribbean. We can't compete. Right after we stop receiving preferential treatment with our sugar, our banana, etc., those industries basically went through the door. So the best answer here is C. Customers are able to purchase a wider variety of goods. That's the only advantage right there on that list. Right? So that's why it's C. Number 14. Which of the following is not a challenge of globalization to the Caribbean? Which is not a challenge? Which is not a challenge of globalization to the Caribbean? And so the answer here is a wider market access. That's not a challenge. That's an advantage. You have a wider market access. Right? All the rest are challenges, as I stated above. Increased competition, naturally, that's a challenge. Removal of protectionist policies, as I said before, when they remove the protectionist policies for sugar and banana for the Caribbean, those industries went down. So that is a challenge. And then we have D, conformity to international standards. Of course, if you're trading with America or Europe or Australia or whatever, now you have to, if you want the products on those markets, you now have to up your standard. And so for the Caribbean, for the most part, that's a challenge. Look at organic farming. We don't really have any real certification board to say stamp organic. But in America and Europe, they have their boards. You have to pay for that, but they have them already out right there. Number 15. A Caribbean island has been experiencing a decline in its GDP for the past 6 months. GDP meaning output. The general output has been going down as a country. How would this economic situation affect local producers? So they're saying that output going down. How would that affect local producers? And the best answer is D, reduced demand for workers. Because if output is declining, that is saying that demand on a large scale or aggregate demand is going down. So aggregate demand is going down because you say that the experience a decline in GDP, production is going down. You can see that. And if production is going down, output is going down, that means that you don't need much workers because the amount of output you're producing before has lessened, and so you don't need as many workers. And so the demand for workers would go down because output is down. Right? And we see that all the time, especially in the hotel industry. It's seasonal, yes, but this on a large scale shows how a decline in output would lead to a reduction in the need for workers. If you look at A, improve relationship between employers and employees, that's not even here in idea, because I don't understand how that's a weird option. But naturally, it might actually worsen relations because they have to lay off people, right? Because output is going down, productivity might be going down, so relations gonna get strained. Extend product range for designer products. If output is down, how would that extend the product? Okay, so let's just move on to number 16. Alright, which of the following theorist is known as the father of scientific management? And the answer here is C, Frederick Taylor. So that's a recall question right there. Which of the following is a non-financial reward? Again, a recall question here. And the best answer here, of course, is B, job enrichment. That's the only one that doesn't have any external attributes or motivational factors attached to it. It's not extrinsically motivating. It's one that is intrinsic, and that would be job enrichment. You feel satisfaction with your job. There's not no money involved in this thing, because gain sharing, you're getting monies. You improve, you get profits, you get a piece of that. Lump sum bonuses, money again. Employee stock ownership plan, that means that you can buy stocks in the company, and that's a financial sector move, so that's a financial reward. You can sell the stocks, get money. When dividends are paid, get money. The best one here is job enrichment. That's more of an intrinsically motivating factor. Number 18, the flow of communications in a matrix structure reflects the interest of, and the best answer here is B, authority figures, because it's all about how persons from one department communicate with another person from the next department to get certain things done. That's the matrix structure right there. Then you have, is that customers, management of customers, the functional areas, that would be functional management. So the best answer is authority figures. Number 19, effective communication is distorted when, this is the next one from 2013, and so the best answer here is B, body language and annotations are not aligned. What they're saying is that, as I explained before, your body language and what you're actually saying doesn't line up. For example, again, you might be delivering some serious news, but you're smiling, you're laughing. Them two don't really correlate, and so you're gonna have some kind of miscommunication. Like, are you serious? You joking? What's going on? Is this news for real? Because what you're saying and how you look and expressing yourself are in opposition. So that can cause some conflict or some distortment in communication. 20. Which concept of systems approach? Which concept of the system approach classifies an organization as a system within another system? And so the best answer here, again, that was on 2013, is C, open system. What they're saying here with open system means that you as a business, you're a system, but there are other systems out there. For example, you have your suppliers. That's a system unto itself. The suppliers are a system unto itself. You have customers. All those are a system unto themselves. So the open system is saying that yes, we are a system, but there are others. Subsystem is saying that we are one system with different layers. So that's subsystem. So it can't be that one. They're just saying that there are different layers to the same system. Synergy is just within the system, things are working together to achieve certain outcomes. You have closed system, as I said, opposite of open. Closed meaning you are the only system, you work within your system and that system alone. So the best answer is C, open system. Number 21, which of the following, which of Maslow's hierarchy of needs would an organization be satisfying if it provides its workers with pension plans? So pension plans, where does that come under in Maslow's hierarchy of needs? And so the best answer here would be, of course, B, security. You remember, security is not just the physical space, but also job security, financial security, that kind of thing. And so if you're giving someone a pension plan, you're telling them, okay, you're secured for when you're retired. You have some security in terms of financial security when you retire. And so that's B. Number 22. Which of the following is least likely to be the objective of an employee appraisal system? Again, I repeat, from 2013. And so the answer is C, to encourage and support planned changes within the organization. That's just not a reason for carrying out an appraisal. That's like spying in a sense. A, to recognize the future needs of the individual. Yes, you appraise somebody, say, okay, you need improvement here, there, whatever, you need some training here. So that's good. B, consider the development of the individual career. Same thing. They're saying, okay, you excel in this part. I see that you can move to this next level because your competency here is there. It should be. So that can work. B. D, to identify employees in the organization who has potential for advancement. So again, you appraise them, say, okay, they score the highest, they can be promoted. So the answer is C, to encourage and support planned changes within the organization. 23. Which of the following will most likely influence the choice of media used, the choice of media used in advertising? And of course, one of the biggest things in advertising is that budget. So if you get Facebook budget, you're gonna use Facebook. If you get, let's say, movie poster budget, you're gonna use movie posters. So it's about the cost. 24. A manager has to decide whether his middle managers should be directly responsible for 4 or 8 subordinates in the organization. This relates to the concept of, and of course the answer here is span of control. As it literally states, the span of your control. How many persons are you in charge of? That's the span of control. So in this one they're saying, should they be responsible for 8? 4? The span of control. If it was the chain of command simply speaks to who is the boss of whom. So manager, middle manager, supervisor, down chain of command. Who you respond to, who is your boss is boss, your boss is boss. The delegation of duties, that's just simply someone in upper management or middle management passing on authority to someone in lower management. Right? Could be one person to whatever. So that doesn't really speak to the question at hand. Then you have a level of hierarchy, and that's similar to the chain of command. We're talking about who is in charge of whom, who's on top, bottom, middle, that kind of thing. But span of control is about how many persons a manager is in charge of. 25. Sandra and Sophia work in the same department. They are in conflict as both are applying for the post of supervisor. Which of the following is most likely the source of this conflict? And of course, it's clear, it's outlined, it's competition. They want the same job, so they're competing. Simple as that. Had it been personality clash, we cannot really deduce that from what is going on there. Right? They say they work in the same department, they are in conflict both applying for the same post, so we don't know. They might have the same personality, we don't know. But the competition is what brings it out. Difference in objectives, we don't see it here again. They are vying for the same job, so their objective is to get that job, and so it's not different at all in terms of what they want to achieve. So it's competition again. Breakdown in communication, that's not in the question. Nobody said anything about communication. They say they want the same work, and so the beefing. 25. 26. When management attempts to increase the scope of a job by broadening or deepening a task undertaken by a worker, this can best be described as, again, this is a repeat from 2013. But the difference here, right, is that in 2013, they did not have the option of job enlargement, right? So the best answer from 2013 was that, right? But I think they made a correction because in 2013 they had job enhancement, and that is not a part of the literature per se. So in 2014, they made a correction and they include all the words from the literature, from the textbook, and so the best answer here is C, job enrichment. So the same job, but they make it a little bit more deeper and they broaden the scope of the same task. So that is why it's job enrichment. They make that same job more fulfilling, more enriching. 27. When authority is assigned to someone in order for them to make decisions, this can best be classified as, again, interesting. I would have gone for delegating, right? But best answer, that's why they always say best, not the most correct, the best one, is of course empowerment, right? If you give them authority, you assign something, you're empowering the person to make decisions. So empowerment. Good. Number 28. Employees at J&C company often complain about their manager who does not allow them to express their views and feelings about final decisions made by the company. So you can shutting them down. Which of the following is most likely the cause of conflict in the organization? And so the best answer here is of course A, management style. Because it seems as though this person is an authoritarian, autocratic management style. They're not democratic to give persons a hear or transformative or laissez-faire. They are cracking down, they're not listening to the subordinates, and so it's about the management style, right? Management style. Good. Let's go number 29. What is the highest level in Abraham Maslow's hierarchy of needs? What's at the tip of the top, the pinnacle of this pyramid? And so the answer is, of course, self-actualization. Self-actualization. You have achieved all you wanted to achieve. You have accomplished what you set out to accomplish. you have conquered all the prior levels of needs. Your social need is met, your safety need is met, your esteem need is met, and so you're at the pinnacle, which is self-actualization. Number 30. Mary works in a small supermarket. She thinks that the salary is attractive and enjoys the group of friends whom she works, but feels that her work is not appreciated and is not challenging enough. She is thinking about leaving. According to Maslow, which of the following reasons best explain Mary's desire to leave? And so, look at Mary now. She works in a supermarket, so her salary is attractive, so her security needs are met. She enjoys her friends, her social needs are met, but she doesn't feel appreciated, so esteem, and is not challenging enough, so self-actualization. And so the best answer here is that her higher order needs are not being satisfied. So that's the esteem and the self-actualization, because the lower ones are met. Her security is met, social is met. So the higher ones are not being met, so maybe want to go elsewhere to try to achieve those. 31. Which of the following debt financing for which of the following is an example of debt financing for a company? And so debt financing is where the company basically borrows money, right, to finance the operations. Borrow money. It doesn't have to mean directly from a bank, go for a loan and get the monies. No. It can also mean that someone invests money into the company to help it get started, but they're not buying any ownership in the company. They just put in the money and expect returns with interest. So if you issue stocks, that means that you're becoming a part owner. So that's not debt. That's equity financing, being a part owner. Debt factoring, that's a word to just throw you off. Debt factoring is where you package your debts and you sell them to somebody else because you're good for it. Good. Retained earnings, meaning that the money you hold back from making profit, you use that to finance the company. That's not debt in on a body. So the best answer here is debenture issue, right? Debenture issue. A debenture is where it's basically an IOU. Somebody gives you money, and you say that you're going to return that money with interest in a certain period of time, and so you owe the person. That's debt right there. So that's debt financing right there. 32. Which of the following phrases best defines a debenture? We just explained debenture right there. A long-term loan with fixed interest rate. That's debenture right there. Best describe it. A long-term loan with fixed interest rate. A bank loan with fixed interest rate. It's a bank loan. Okay, it's a bank loan. It says it right there. A long-term loan with variable interest rate. Debentures don't have variable interest rates. It's fixed, and so it can be good or bad based on how inflation happens and things like that. A short-term loan with principal paid at maturity date. Debenture is more of a long-term form of financing, and so that's why the answer is B. 33. Working capital is often described as the lifeblood of the business. Which of the following actions is least likely to result in an increase in working capital? And so we have options A, increasing stock levels. Well, if you increase the stock levels, that can lead to an increase in working capital to a certain degree, because it all depends on the stock turnover rate. Maybe your stock turnover rate is high, and so if you have a little bit, that would reduce the amount of money you make. And if you increase your stock levels, then that can also mean that you're getting more sales. You can even sell the stocks if you want, things like that. So that can have a chance to increase capital. Then you have B, increasing credit to customers. That doesn't tell us about the credit period, right? If you increase the credit period for customers to repay, that's not gonna work. But if you decrease the credit period, that can work. So increasing credit to customers, they don't tell us the period, but if you have more people out there owing your debtors are a form of fixed assets, and so accounts receivable is a form of a current asset, and so that's a part of working capital, because working capital is our current assets minus current liabilities. Then we have the sale of short-term investments. Of course, selling money, so you get the money one time, injecting money into the company, so that can help you to increase the working capital. Now, the answer we're going here for is C, a mortgage for plant expansion. Now, one of the reasons we're going with C is because, remember we said working capital is current assets minus current liability. And a mortgage has nothing to do with current. It's not a current asset. It's not a current liability. It doesn't affect current liability accounts or current asset accounts in no way, shape, or form like that. So based on what we have here, the best answer is a mortgage for the plant expansion, because that mortgage is not going to be used to generate. It's going to be used to generate long-term benefits, long-term wealth. But for this short-term working capital, a mortgage doesn't really help you in any way, shape, or form. 34. Which of the following investment appraisal methods uses profit rather than cash flows? Okay, so you have your A, net present value, your B, your payback method, and C, your internal rate of return, and D, average rate of return. And so A, B, and C all uses the cash flow to come up with the answer. But D now, the average rate of return, that actually uses the profit to see how much your return on capital investment, the average return on your capital investment for the company. So D actually uses the profit as opposed to the cash flow like the others. The others uses cash flow, but D, average rate of return, uses the profits. 35. Which of the following ratios gives measures of how easily a company, a business, could meet its short-term debts or liabilities? And so we're talking about short-term. And short-term, we're normally looking at liquidity. Liquidity is how fast assets can be turned into cash or can be used to pay off whatever you owe quickly. And so the best answer here, of course, is any liquidity ratio. The liquidity ratio would show if you are ready to if you can cover your debts especially in the short term. How liquid is the company? How much cash the company can get in a shorter span of time? And that's why the answer is B. 36. An example of a intangible asset is very simple. POB, back in the POB days, Goodwill, right? Goodwill, you can't touch it, you can't feel it, you can't smell it, but you know it's there. Cash, a debtor, a motor vehicle, all those are goods you can actually touch, feel, smell. Of course, the debtor is a person, whatever, a company, but Goodwill is an intangible. Cannot touch it, cannot smell it, cannot feel it, cannot do anything, but it's there. 37. Tyco International, a public limited company, intends to expand into new markets within the next 6 months. The most likely source of funds for expansion would be, and of course the best answer here is B, the sale of shares. That's one of the ways you can raise money, raise a lot of capital to do things like mergers and acquisitions and expansions and things like that. Sale of assets, you might not reach to that level to get into a next market. You want a constant flow of your shares and your cash and things like that. Bank overdraft, short term. You can't overdraft to the degree where you can actually finance an expansion. Issuing of debentures, again, they say that the most likely source. Remember, the company is already established, and so debentures is normally when the company is just starting out. That's a form of financing your early operations so that later on you can repay. But for things like expansion, the best answer would be sale of shares, especially for a public limited company. 38. The following information is an extract from the firm Ali & Son Limited at December 2013. So you have the information right there. Current assets 160k, long-term liabilities 200k, fixed assets 300k, and current liabilities 60k. The firm's capital as at December 31st, 2013 is, and so the best answer here is of course A, 200,000. And of course you get that by taking away the assets from the liabilities. Alright, so that's all your assets. So your 160k plus your 300k, that gives you 460k. And then you have your long-term liabilities, which is 200k plus, that's 260k. And you minus the 460k from the 260k, and you get the 200,000. Right, so it's assets minus liabilities. Alright, so that's 439. Refers to the following. Okay, net cash inflow from operations 46,000, tax paid 12,000, payment of fixed assets 19,000, and then you had shares issued 13,000. I think this is from 2013, this question, so you just go back and see that one. So the closing cash balance is, of course, 28,000 for that one. Alright, so for this one, of course, we have the 46,000, that's the opening, and so tax paid minus that, payment of fixed assets minus that also, and then you add back the 13, and so you get the 28,000 for that one. Alright, so you take out all these, so your net inflow from operation, that's the 46, you minus the tax, because that's an expense, your payments to assets minus that also, that's a payment, and then issue of shares, that's cash coming in, and so we have 28. So it's the outflow and the inflow. So all this, so it's outflow and inflow. So you have the inflow minus the outflow, and you get the overall closing balance, right? So that's the 28. Again, go back to the 2013 paper and you see that one. Number 40. The extract was taken from a trading account of a business enterprise. We have opening stock 400, sales 1,800, purchases 1,000, and closing stock. And so we have to calculate, we have to find the gross profit of this company. And so what you need to do here is that, gross profit is what? Sales minus cost of goods sold, right? So you have to know what the cost of goods sold first. And so the cost of goods sold is the opening stock, which is a 400, plus the purchases, so that's 1,004, right? Then you minus the closing stock, which is 600, so you get 8. So you get 800 for the cost of goods sold. 800 cost of goods sold. Now to find the gross profit now, you take the sales, which is 1,008, and you take away the cost of goods sold, which is 800 that we just calculated. And so 1,008 minus 1,800 minus 800 is, of course, 1,000. So the answer is C. 41. Philbert Hardware is finding it difficult to meet its everyday payment over the short term. This means that the firm can manage its situation by utilizing all of the following except. So what can they do? Which one of these will not help to improve their cash flow? Because that's a cash flow problem. Cash ain't coming in fast enough. So let's look at the options. But what about increasing debtor days? Now, if you increase the debtor days, that means that you're extending, right? You're extending how long the debtors could repay you. And so if you increase the debtor days, then that's going to be an issue. That means the cash is not going to come in any faster, right? So the best answer is A. Because if you sell more on a cash basis, then you're going to get more cash in hand. That's good. Entering an overdraft arrangement, that is good. You have some cash, some current assets, some liquid cash at hand a little faster. But if you increase the debtor days, then that is not going to help you, because that would further exacerbate the situation, because that means that instead of, let's say, the debtors were to pay you every 30 days and increase that to 90, then the cash flow gone down the drain again. If you increase credit purchases, that means that you as a company buying more things on credit. And so what does that mean? That means that you have more cash in hand, right? Because you're not spending out the cash as fast as you would have. You're using credit now, so you pay back later on. So you're basically spacing out how much the time frame in which you have to expend cash. So the best answer here is A. 42. The main objective of a cash flow statement to a business is to show the very simple cash flow, inflow, outflow. So the inflow of cash and the outflow of cash. Very straightforward. Alright, 43. Now 43, there's an issue with 43, so there's really no answer. If you realize, 43, I guess however they print the paper, the options for 39 are the same options for 40. Right, for 43, and the question doesn't really relate to that. Right, so that's an error right there. So I don't know if back in the day whoever sat that they corrected it on the day, but yeah, that's an issue right there. So 44, which of the following source of finance is least likely to be used as investment in new product development? Next one from 2013, and the answer is of course a bank overdraft, because a bank overdraft doesn't really extend to that degree where you can actually go to a product development. Product development is going to be more of a long-term thing, so you need more long-term financing, and so the bank draft is not long-term, it's more short-term, quick fix kind of thing. Alright, the last one, 45. The following information was taken from a book of Sam Peters' business. So you have it right there. Stock at 1st January 3,000, wages 4,500, purchases 10,000, postage 150, and closing stock 2,300. What is the cost of goods sold? And we know that we did the cost of goods sold earlier, right? Yeah, we did that earlier, and so you just go through that again. The answer is 10,700. So we did that earlier when we were looking at the gross profit, right? So it's just simply the opening stock. So you have the opening stock right there. So again, yeah, so it's opening inventory. So that's 3,000 right here. The opening inventory is 3,000 plus purchases 10,000, and then minus the closing stock 2,300, sorry, and you get the 10,700. So that's your cost of goods sold. All right. So that's it for the May-June 2014 MOB Unit 1 Paper 1 for Cape. All right, that's it for that one. So you know what to do. Again, we said it at the top. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell so you know when Learn SKN drops another MOB video. And that's it for this one. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening.